So last night, President Donald Trump gave a speech, and I wanted to analyze some of what I see happening regarding Donald Trump and his followers. In that, rather than reflecting upon the specific policies and the specific things that they're doing, because there are much more qualified people out there discussing these things. However, for the past year, I've been putting together this book, Good vs. Bad Character Traits According to the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So I've really been studying the difference between good character traits versus bad character traits from the perspective of what divine revelation says about them. And that's the perspective I want to approach analyzing the behavior of Donald Trump and a lot of his supporters. And one very prominent character trait they seem to have is that of arrogance. And this is, of course, a bad character trait. This is from the worst. Many of them seem to have this idea that they are so intelligent and powerful that they are essentially God's gift to humanity. Last night, Trump said, 6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. He said, we have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years. And we are just getting started. America's momentum is back. Our spirit is back. Our pride is back. Our confidence is back. And the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before. He proudly proclaimed, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency is the most successful in the history of our nation. And what makes it even more impressive is that, do you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that? Our country is on the verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again. Over the past 6 weeks, I've signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions, a record to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. So when it comes to these sorts of grandiose claims, I think there are two camps. You have these people, for example, in the back applauding him, cheering him on. They are eating up everything that he's saying. They actually truly believe this man. But then you have another group who believe he is a pathological liar. He either is devastatingly ignorant and that he has no idea what he's doing, or he knows exactly what he's doing and he's going to purposefully destroy America. So these are two diametrically opposed views of this man and what's happening in America. And myself, as an American whose forefathers dedicated their lives to serving this country, I, of course, want things to be good in America. I'm not rooting for the destruction of a country that I live in, that my family lives in, but it does seem like there is a lot at stake, and it's pretty scary because America doesn't seem to be getting better. And when we see the arrogance coming from the president and those who support him the most, it becomes even more concerning. Now, I wouldn't normally quote the Bible, but because Trump has such a large Christian following, I want you all to understand that although I'm speaking from an Islamic perspective, there is a lot that Muslims and Christians have in common regarding these sorts of things. And when we look in the Bible, we find it harshly condemning arrogance. For example, it said, pride goes before destruction. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. And the Quran also strongly condemns arrogance. So this is something we can all agree on. So I really am curious about how all the Christian supporters of Trump seem to overlook this sort of behavior. I mean, proudly proclaiming that he is ushering in a golden age of America. You know, as a convert to Islam, one thing I found extremely beneficial is there are terms that we commonly say that remind us of the reality of this life and the importance of actually depending upon Allah, God, the Creator. So for example, we'll say, Inshallah, God willing. God willing, we hope that the Creator is actually going to bless us with a golden age. All praises for Him. Any good that I'm doing, it's a blessing from Him. Any mistakes that I'm making, it is from myself and shaitan trying to mislead me. This is very basic, foundational, righteous behavior. But when it comes to Trump, I don't see an iota of humility. He literally proudly proclaimed that it's been stated the first month of his presidency is the most successful in the history of America, mentioning that George Washington, the first president, the man on the $1 bill, that he's number 2. I mean, if you have ever been around righteous scholars, for example, who truly fear the Creator, they would never imagine behaving or talking like this. They don't allow people to praise them in their presence, let alone praise themselves. I don't think people truly understand how outrageous and unrighteous this behavior is. But this seems to be a defining character trait of Donald Trump. And somehow he has garnered a huge following of Christians with this sort of behavior. This isn't how a righteous person behaves. This is how a con artist behaves, because they want to convince you to trust them so that you will support them doing whatever they want. So a lot of Americans are hurting, are suffering, are worried. But what is billionaire Donald Trump's reaction to this? We're the greatest administration in America's history. We're headed towards a golden age. America's back. But Mr. President, we're struggling to pay our rent. No, it's gonna be great. Don't worry about it. I know what I'm doing. Mr. President, we can't afford groceries. No, this is the greatest America's ever been. Mr. President, the healthcare system is broken. Don't worry, I'm gonna fix everything. I don't know, some people are just convinced by this, like as if this man really knows what he's doing and really cares to help you. But we'll see. But speaking of arrogance, this isn't something that I've only seen from Donald Trump, but also his followers. So for example, here's an article. Ontario's Doug Ford says he could cut electricity to the US over tariffs. And I saw a MAGA supporter on social media recording a video boasting, proclaiming, yeah, cut off the electricity. America will set up our own system in no time. And then we'll be self-sufficient and we'll be running things. It's like the people that Donald Trump has convinced to be proud have this very false sense of ability. It really is as if Donald Trump has convinced these people that he is this prophetic figure and that America has some sort of divine power to just do everything, do anything. Like, yeah, bring it on, cut off our electricity. We'll fix it like that and it'll be better. As the saying goes, be careful what you wish for. Because I'm seeing other people on social media talking about how they supported Donald Trump, but because of his stance on immigration, they now don't have people to work on their farms and are essentially going bankrupt. And that's kind of the weird thing about like the working class loving Trump so much. Because if you're a farmer and now you don't have any workers to keep your business going, that's not going to harm Donald Trump. It's not going to harm Elon Musk. They believe that they're always going to have money. They're always going to have access to healthcare. They're always going to have shelter that they can live in, food to eat. So it really is interesting to me that a president can garner so much support from Christians whose book condemns arrogance, yet he is constantly displaying peak arrogance. Let me know in the comments, guys. What do you think? Christians, what do you think of that passage, pride goes before destruction? Do you think that's where Trump could be heading? Or do you see him to be this sort of divinely prophetic figure? Allah knows best. Thank you for watching. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.